Hello, moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of Have You Seen It? I am your host, Denise, and this week's movie review is kind of appropriate due to the inclement weather that we've been experiencing here on the East Coast. So I thought, this might be the perfect movie to review. The movie is called Society of the Snow. This is a Netflix movie under your non-English or foreign language category. It's coming in right now at like number 10, but the movie was released early January, so it may have moved up from 10 up a couple of spots closer to number 1. This movie stars Enzo Bogrensic, Augustine Pardea, Matias Recault, Esteban Bigliardi, and a whole lot of other people. So I will not name all of them. This is the cast members are Spanish speaking, but the movie itself was in English. May have been some subtitles here or there. But this movie is a true story. It is the movie of Flight 571, which the rugby team of Uruguay was aboard in October of that year, and the team was on its way to Chile with a few other people, like family members and some other friends. And unfortunately, they crash in the Andes mountain area. And wow. This movie is 2 hours and change, but I'm telling you, I was, engaged from the moment the movie started all the way to the end. It just drew me in. I like movies like this. I mean, it's, with a disaster element that might seem kind of morbid, but it's not the disaster itself that I like, but how the characters deal with their circumstance and how they survive from the time they're put into that situation until they, figure out how to get out of it, if you will. So there were over 40 people on this flight, but I can tell you that not all of them survived. I won't tell you how many were left, when the movie ended. But once they, boarded the plane and they were on their way, it seemed as though the crash happened fairly quickly. They experienced turbulence. A couple of the team members, one in particular, had never flown before. So, of course, this turbulence is something he's never experienced and is quite unsettling. Once the crash itself begins to occur, the turbulence gets really, really rough. So you see that inside the plane of how it's kind of jostling people around in somewhat of a violent fashion. And once the impact happens, that whole scene is quite graphic. I was just like, what is happening here? And you just see how people are, crushed and just kind of pushed into each other, and things are flying from the overhead compartments. So remember, this is 1972, so the overhead compartments were not like they are now. And so once this crash occurs, then the survival begins. And there are, wow, you've got a group of those survivors who it's kind of like their job, or they've taken on the responsibility of, hey, we got to figure some things out. Let's put our heads together and let's salvage what we can, because the temperature, and I thought I misheard what they said the temperature was, but it was like minus, minus double digit degree temperature that I've never even heard of before. It was that cold. So at some point they did have some radio information, but that didn't last very long. Their circumstance lasted, and I didn't realize this before I watched the movie, not just a few days, maybe a week or two. This was a very long situation where they were stranded. I mean, you're going to be sad. I was sad. There was the moments where I was sad. The unimaginable things that they had to figure out. The snow is very deep. All they have are the clothes that they have on them and any clothes that they could find inside of any luggage that they could find to keep themselves warm. And again, everybody had to put their heads together and figure out how we're going to get out of this situation. Their rescue attempt, at some point they could hear planes looking for them, but that rescue mission ended within a couple of weeks, where now they just figured this entire team is lost forever. So you've got people figuring out, how are we going to survive? We don't have any food, okay? So now you've got a taboo situation, an ethical situation, a morality situation on, we need some food. How are we going to eat? So we got some cannibalism going on, but it was dealt with a sense of compassion and sensitivity for those who didn't make it. So you have to watch to see just how they figured out how they were going to do that. Cinematography, beautiful. And it was like I'm watching this movie and I'm looking at this beautiful scenery, but I'm looking at people who are desperate and in need of food and shelter and water and everything for survival. And it was just amazing to watch. So the mental state of those individuals was grossly affected as well. So I highly recommend this movie, Society of the Snow. There is some Oscar buzz in the foreign film category. So the Oscars are coming up. So, keep this one in the back of your head. So that is my review. All right, I'm going to jump into my Nailed It for this week. I'm going way back to a young Denzel Washington and the movie Mississippi Masala. In this particular scene, it's called The Confrontation. Denzel's character, comes to, visit his, new little girlfriend of Indian descent, and he has a conversation that turns into the confrontation with the dad. The dad is basically saying, I'm looking out for my daughter, so forth and so on, and without saying I don't want her to be with this black man, I'm saying it. But once Denzel, one thing I love about him, once he gets that look and just kind of tilts his head, he goes in to dad and reads him from top to bottom and leaves him shook and standing in his shoes as he walks away. classic scene and very, very well done. Dad was speechless. So that is my nailed it. You can go ahead on YouTube and or Google that particular scene. The confrontation. Denzel Washington from Mississippi Masala is my nailed it. All right, folks, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button. And remember, we are available on every podcast platform in the universe. Just type in, have you seen it with Denise? And there I will be. All right, moviegoers, you know what to do. Until next week, I need you to go see a movie because I'm going to see a movie. Until next week, bye-bye.